welcome to another episode of Metal, Meeples, and Beer. I am Rob himself, and in this video I'm going to be doing another Robb review. Today I've selected End of the Trail from Elf Creek Games. I was lucky enough to meet up with these guys while down at the Shucks convention in Vancouver a few weeks ago, and thought I would give their game a try. I've got it to the table a few times over the last few weeks with several different groups at several different player counts, and thought it'd be a great game to do a review for. Before I get to any of that though, I am definitely having a beer. Today, I'll be drinking the Rattlesnake ESB from Tin Whistle Brewing in beautiful Penticton, BC. While I'm drinking that, I'll be listening to the album Earthborn Evolution from Beyond Creation. These guys hail from Montreal, Quebec. I saw them at a Metal Fest in Armstrong a few years ago, and they absolutely blew me away. If you ever get the chance to see them, go check them out, alright? So, while I get this game set up, sit back, relax, grab yourself a pint, join me at the table as we take a look at End of the Trail from Elf Creek Games. Cheers. Okay, well, let's just jump right into it here. I do have on my table set up a 4-player game of End of the Trail. It does play from 1 to 4 players, and it is about 10 minutes per player, especially if you've played it a few times. It can get going by pretty quickly. So a 4-player game could take you a good 40 minutes or so. So it is rather quick on the time side of things. Okay, so what are we trying to do in this game? We are competing prospectors, trying to stake our claims on these different landscapes. There's canyons, mountains, foothills. Each one of these underneath has a different amount of gold hidden underneath. So this one has 4 gold hidden underneath. This one has 6, and so on. And I believe it's 1 to 6 is the ratio of gold that's hidden under these different tiles. So we're trying to stake our claim on these different tiles to get that gold for ourselves, and we're also at the same time slowly trying to put together the best hand of poker that we can. That just kind of goes hand in hand with prospectors and poker, right? So thematically it works really, really well. So what are we going to do? So the first thing that we're going to do, each player, I have a red, blue, green, and purple player set up here with their own set of 6 cards that they start with. And what you're going to do is select out of your starting 6 cards, 1 card that you want to keep to start your end of game poker hand with. But you'll see that there's several different things going on these cards. There's a dollar value on the right corner. There's the suit and number of each card on the left corner, and it also, some of them will have abilities like this one, claim jump, and then there will be some that say horse, some that say mule, and some that say, you'll see them that they say oxen, just like they say here with mule, but it says oxen. So what these cards do is allow you to access different ranges of these different landscapes. So if you were to play an oxen card on your turn, you would only be able to access these 2 rows when trying to prospect for gold during the prospect phase. If you were to play a mule card, you would be able to access all 3 of these rows. And if you played a horse card, you would be able to access any tile you wanted to try to look underneath. Okay, so that's how the oxen, mule, and horse cards work. But like I said, there are different aspects to these cards. So the dollar value is used when we're doing the auction phase, which is called, I believe, the supply phase. So there's going to be auctions that we have cards that are for sale, up for auction, that we can use these dollar amounts on our starting hand to bid for. So there's $1, $2, $1. So I think they go from $1 to $4, I believe, in different values. And you can use these cards to bid on sets of cards that are going to get laid out. So once we've decided on a card, first and foremost, that we want to start off our poker hand with, so maybe one of these kings would be the one I'd want to start off with. So let's say I took this card out as the start of my poker hand. I'd keep this just to myself, face down, and I would place it near myself as my starting card. Okay, so this king of diamonds, just put right here. And each player would do the same, leaving themselves with just 5 cards left in their hand. Okay, each player has selected that card. The supply phase is going to start, and what happens there is that someone will be deemed the dealer, and they will have this chip at the beginning of the game. which is pretty nice. Nice little component. And the dealer will put cards up for auction. So if there's 4 players, there's going to be 3 auctions on every supply turn, okay? And they're going to be doing auctions of 3 cards. So let's say from the deck, the dealer had these cards as the first auction available to everybody. Now, looking at these cards, the person to the left of the dealer will have first crack at bidding on them. You can see that there's a 6 of clubs, a 7 of diamonds, a king of spades, each one with a different action or ability on the card. So the king here is a horse card, which means it can access any of these 3 rows, right? When we're prospecting for gold. Then there's the new prospects card, which has a certain action it does, and the claim jump card, which does a different action as well. And they're all worth different amounts of money. These 3 happen to be worth $1 a piece. So starting with the person to the left, let's say I was the person to the left of the dealer, and I saw that this king was sitting here, and I remember I had buried a king already. I had a king in my hand, and there's a king for sale right here on this auction. It's probably an auction I'm really going to want to get in on, as at the end of the game I might be able to have 3 kings, right? So that might be, you know, the winning hand perhaps. So it would be in my best interest to probably take a crack at it. And I can auction any number or bid any number I want on this auction, depending on how much cash I have in my hand, which is based on that money in the top corner, top right. So I wouldn't want to spend my king, but I could spend pretty much anything else. And let's say I spent, I don't know, let's say I spent $3. Or I bid $3 rather. And it went around the table and nobody outbid me. Then these 3 cards are now mine. And I would spend these $3, discarded, out of the game. And these cards are now mine. I win that auction. And once you've won an auction, you can't win another until the next supply round comes by, okay? So for each player that wins an auction, they sit out as the other auctions are resolved. So once those auctions are all resolved, those 3 auctions, then starts the prospecting phase. What's going to happen here is each player now has a new set of 5 cards in their hand, and they're going to play 2 or 3 of these cards to do their ability. So the horse card, the claim jump card, another horse, a mule, new prospect card. So for simplicity's sake, let's say I went with these 3 here, especially since I want to get this king into my hand as well, these 2 kings. So when you play 2 or 3 cards out of your hand, this is the only way you're going to be able to add these cards to your poker hand. Because after you've played your actions out, you'll be able to add 1 or 2 of the 2 or 3 cards that you played. So if I played, let's say that these are the 3 cards I want to play. After they're played out, I'll be able to add 1 or 2 of them to my hand. So I would definitely want to get these 2 kings out so that I could add the 2 of them to my already king over here, right? So I would have 3 of a kind kings at the end of this phase. So let's say we played this out. Each player selects the 2 or 3 cards they want to play, and they lay them down in front of themselves. Just kind of like that. Oops. And they resolve them in turn order. Turn order is determined by the amount of money that is represented on the card. So for instance, I have $4. If that's the most, then I will be going first. And I would take my little prospector meeple, which is a great little component as well. Really like him. Really cool. Prospector meeple on level 1 here with my tent. And same goes for the other people. In what order it may have been determined by how much those cards are worth that they played. Okay, so let's say it was my turn to go first. I would play these 3 cards out in front of me, and I could select any one of them to use that I wanted to. So let's say I wanted to use this horse card. I would tap it, turn it sideways, and then that would allow me to look underneath any one of these tiles. Because it is a horse card, it allows me to look under all 4 rows. So at random, basically, I get to pick one and see what's underneath it, and keeping it just to myself. So let's say I looked at this one, and I see that there's a two gold represented underneath this. I have a few options I can do right now. I could stake my claim by putting my tent onto this tile, saying that this is, this is gold I want for myself. Or I could put down my camp, which is this large tent. And what this camp does is it solidifies that one tile for you. It can't be manipulated by other people's cards that switch things around and move things around. That would anchor that one for you. It's kind of like a safe zone. But if you play just your normal tent on it, the tent can be manipulated and moved around the board, and you can end up losing that claim. So if it was a really good claim, you'd want to put out your camp. Let's say it was a 6, or 5 or 6, you'd probably want to put out your camp. But if not, you could just put out your tent and claim it. But let's say it's one you didn't want. Let's say like this, for instance, 2, not a really good number. I could say I want to push my luck. So that's where the push your luck scenario comes into play in this game. I could instead just put my meeple on there and wait for my next action in this phase. So that would just represent that that's where my guy is, and I'm going to be moving off of there by pushing my luck, and I'm going to be selecting a new tile on my next turn. And when I do go there, if it's less than what I had here, which was 2, I have to keep it. But if it's equal or greater, I could push my luck one more time onto my third card here. Okay? So let's say it goes around the table, everyone's done one action. It comes back to me. I want to do another action. I play this horse card. I'm going to look at another tile. Let me see this one. Ooh, it's a 4. So I looked at that one myself. I'm still not showing anybody this, right? So now I know that this is a 4. I could move my prospector there. And if I didn't want that one, I could press my luck again. But let's say I do want that one. I'm going to put my tent out. Now that's going to be represented that I've put a claim in on that tile. So that tile can be manipulated by other people's cards that switch things around and move things around on you, and they steal it out from underneath you, things like that. But being a 4, it's maybe not worth putting your camp on in case you run into a 5 or 6 that you really want to use this for. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. It's going to keep going around the board, and the blue player might have come here and used this and prospected there and put a claim there, and green player maybe came here and he or she wanted to do a claim there, and so forth. And then by the end of the round, everyone's going to have used their cards. And for each of these cards that I spent, since I put 3 of them out, I'll only be able to keep 1 or 2 of them. So obviously I want to keep these 2 kings and add them to my other king. So now I've got 3 of a kind already for my end of game poker hand. Right? Now, what happens is everybody will then get rid of the cards that they wanted to add to their hand, discard everything else, and get drawn back up 2, 3, 4, 5 to 5 cards. And then you do it all over again for 3 different rounds, doing the same thing, moving around the board, playing your mule cards, different action cards that do different cool things about kind of like take that, oxen card, horse cards, trying to find the best gold out here. And by the end of the game, each player is going to have a tent. Let's say everyone's going to have put these different tents out with their different claims on them, and they're going to reveal at the very end of the game what they had under their claims. So for the red player here, he had 4, 3, and 4. So 11 points in gold from the claims that the red player made. And also, let's say this was their final 5 cards they had, the 3 of a kind kings, an 8 and an ace. And they would put that poker card or poker hand up against the hands of the other players. Whoever has the best poker hand will then add bonus gold to their final score at the end of the game, which is determined in the rule book. There's a certain list of different amounts of gold. So at the end of the game, the player with the best poker hand is going to get two bonuses, really. They're going to get what their hand is worth in the back of the rule book for a certain amount of gold, but they're actually also going to get to put out their 4th tent. They're going to be the only player that gets to put out their 4th tent, and they're going to place it on the an unclaimed tile from a foothill, a canyon, or a mountain, claiming whatever might be underneath there. So if they'd played their last tent here, or say, so it was here, they'd place it here, and they get a bonus 1 for getting that tile, plus what they had at the end for their poker hand. And the highest amount of gold wins the game. And that's really how it goes. It's a little tricky to begin with, but once you've played it 2 or 3 times, you really get the hang of it, and you can really flow through this game quite quickly. And yeah, it's a cool little tile game, and push your luck, and a little bit of take that, and yeah, it's cool. So hopefully that made sense for everyone. Yeah, leave a comment if there's something you'd like me to clear up for you down in the comments section. And I'll get this game cleaned up, and I'll come back with my final thoughts, all right? And I'm also going to have a sip of my beer, okay? Cheers, bye. Well, there you have it, folks. That was End of the Trail from Elf Creek Games. I had the chance to play this quite a few times over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I have to say I really enjoyed this game. I'm always looking for a game in this field, in this ballpark, that has a lot going on in a very short amount of time, and I found it a lot of fun for a 20, 30, 40-minute game with lots of things going on, from the poker hand to looking for different amounts of gold, to putting your claim down, having someone steal it from you, trying to get it back, or trying to go somewhere else and press your luck that way. I love the press your luck aspect. I love the take that aspect of it as well, especially because it's a small, short game. Take that kind of works well when you're dealing with these type of time frames. In longer games, I'm not a huge fan, but in these short games where you can just kind of get in there and get what you can get and get out with the best hand, literally the best hand you can. I really liked that. I really also liked the artwork in this game. I love the box art. I love this cool little slip that came with it. It's kind of something neat you could keep on the top of your shelf or something like that, with these wheels that attach to it. It's pretty cool a little addition to the game. But I really do enjoy this box art here. The feel of the art on the tiles and the cards is really westerny to me. You know, just these soft shaded colors. It works really well. The Meeples themselves, the little prospectors, are really cool. Really enjoyed those. The poker chip, awesome little addition to it there. I like the way these cards look. I like the way the tiles look. I like the feel of the game, and I like the speed of the game. Yeah, there's not much I can say other than that. I really enjoyed playing it. It's a great game for me to haul around to either start my night off with, or if we take a break from a game in the middle, if we're waiting for people to show up, this is a great game to bust out, get it done in half an hour or so, and put it back in the box and on to something else. So yeah, you can start your night with this. You can end your night with this. It's a perfect game for that type of scenario. Or you could sit down and play 2, 3, 4 games of it if you'd like to. So I like how versatile it is. The box is a nice size. It slips nicely into my bag with other games, you know, so it can always take it wherever I want to go. Yeah, it's a great game. I really enjoyed it. So again, this game is great. I highly recommend it. You go out and try and find a copy for yourself. Elf Creek did a great job. I really enjoy it. So again, I've been drinking the Rattlesnake ESB from Tin Whistle Brewing in beautiful Penticton, BC. While I did this video, I was listening to the Earthbound Evolution from Beyond Creation, badass metal band from Montreal, Quebec. This has been Metal Meeples and Beer. I am Rob himself. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.